All right, guys, this season for some of you is more important than the hunting season itself. Some of you, this is a good time to get the family out, get some boots on the ground, understand your property a little bit more. It is shed season. All right, shed season, guys. How do you find more sheds? That's what this video is going to be about. It's kind of similar to hunting these deer a lot of times. You got to look for certain things within your property, within a piece of public land property, within a property you've never been to. You need to look for certain characteristics in that property to ultimately find more sheds. There are areas in which these sheds are going to be. There's always the chance that you find the random shed in the random spot on any property, whether it's private land, public land. There's always that opportunity, there's always going to be that chance. But if you want to find sheds in the most, I guess, in these concentrated areas, or understand where these deer are going to be dropping these sheds even ahead of time, well, this is the video for you guys. So this can already start back. If you're the ultimate whitetail hunter and you love everything about it, 365 days a year, you love watching deer throughout the year, you love obviously harvesting deer, and then you love picking up their shed antlers, you can plan to have a good shed season back in the summer, guys. How can you do that? Well, you can plant the right food sources. When it comes down to finding sheds, it has to do with finding the ultimate food source at that time of the year. Public land, it might be natural browse, it might be acorns, it might be chestnuts, it might be locust pods. If you can find that, I mean, that's a huge deal on those pieces of property. But on the pieces of property where you can actually manipulate and plant things, you should have a late season food source planted. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously some of these food sources are going to benefit you throughout the entire year in the hunting season, which is probably your goal. But why not, try and create a double whammy here and have both a good food source during the season and after the season. So plant the right food source in spring, in late summer. So what am I planting? I'm probably planting soybeans. I'm probably planting corn in the spring. Both of those things are definitely going to hold deer late in the season, and ultimately probably be areas where you're going to find a lot of sheds. So you can kind of plan ahead, plant the right things. If you have enough of those food sources where they make it into the late season, and I'm talking, January, February, March, when a lot of these deer are actually dropping their sheds, then chances are you're going to find the sheds there. Simple as that. Soybeans are a big fan of mine. And this all depends where you are. Maybe you're in the north woods of Wisconsin, you're in the north woods of Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, you're far north where there is no agriculture. Maybe you plant the green food source, you plant your radishes, turnips, brassicas, rape, you plant things like that, and as long as the deer can get at them, the snow doesn't completely cover them and they don't get iced over, deer are going to be in those food sources. So as long as you just have the best food source on your property out of anybody else, it's as simple as this: you're going to find more sheds. So the food source is one place that I'm always looking, and everybody talks about that. Oh yeah, go look on the food source for sheds. It definitely is one of the best spots to go look, and that's why I brought it up first. But there are other areas, okay? So the other areas, similar to hunting deer, you got to understand these areas, where they are, and understand the whole, the whole puzzle here to really figure this out. But the second, area that I like to touch on, or that I find a lot of sheds, is in transition areas. In transition areas from the food to the bedding. So in between, there's always a transition area. There's a point A and the point B, and then there's the in between. That's your transition area. That area where they travel is going to be a place where you're going to find a lot of sheds as well. Let's say you have a down tree across a trail. I'd be looking there. The deer have to jump over it. There's a chance that it could jolt them, knock their antler off. You find that a lot of time with fences. So if you find any of those in transition areas, maybe it's the fence line around the field, which I guess you could still consider that transition area, as it's right on the edge of the food source. That could be a great spot. So the transition area, the place that is in between the bedding and the food, is a great place to ultimately find a lot of sheds. And I kind of already brought up the last one. It's the bedding area. If you can find the bedding area, guys, not only is it going to help you during the season, but it's also going to help you find these sheds, because a lot of times these deer are going to drop their sheds while being in their bed. They get up, they lay down, they move around a lot. They swing their head around, they set their head on the ground. They're going to drop sheds this way. So if you can find the bedding area in their beds, it's a double whammy once again. You're going to be able to find the beds in which these bucks are spending time in, make sense of it, and create a plan for the following year, and also find their sheds. So it's really a win-win if you want to look at it that way. So the best places that I decide to look, or I guess the best places to look for finding sheds are very similar to hunting deer as a whole. Whether you're hunting them during the season or hunting these sheds after, you can use a lot of the same strategies and techniques by hunting the food source, the transition area, and the bedding. And anywhere in between is going to allow you to find a lot of sheds. Now, don't get me wrong. There are other places that I like to focus on the property, and I guess, you know, one of them I'll even bring up right now. In a place where there's a lot of topography, those south-facing slopes. Let's say you don't really have the food source, the food source that's like, it's a destination food source. They're there every night. You're in the big woods setting, and you know these deer are kind of sporadic with their movement. And then you're gonna have to focus more on that bedding, that last point that we just brought up. And a lot of times you'll catch deer in the northern climate bedding on the south-facing slope of ridges. Why? Because there's basically just more sunlight there. So if there's more sunlight, it helps the deer keep warm, and ultimately deer are, I guess you could say, air cooled or air heated, not water cooled or water heated, which is a kind of a weird way to put it. Basically, these deer need thermal heat to keep warm. And we'll get into the whole, you know, water cooled versus air cooled in a different video, but and it kind of sounds goofy saying it that way. But anyway, focus on that south-facing slope. There's going to be a lot more thermal warmth from the sun that way, and ultimately they're going to spend more time there, probably drop more sheds there. So maybe that's your bedding area that you should be focusing on if you're on public land or on a big piece of timber land, and you don't have that destination food source to really, you know, create that pattern. Go find that transition area, find that food source, then focus on that bedding area. And in that case, that south-facing slope might be a good spot. So if you want to find more sheds, guys, these are some of the top places that I'm looking. Like I said, there's always a chance you can get lucky and just cover a lot of ground and find them. But if you're really trying to be strategic this year, those are the top places that I'd recommend that you end up looking for sheds. So if you guys like these videos, if you like finding sheds, if you like deer hunting, if you like learning about habitat and how you can improve your property, make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe button. We're gonna keep putting out more content for you guys. So if you guys like what you're seeing, like and subscribe.